Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into a totally fascinating intersection today, mixing modern relationship psychology with ancient esoteric practices. We're going to unpack how ancient mystical frameworks can actually solve very real, very modern relationship anxieties. If you've ever felt completely consumed by a romantic relationship, kind of losing yourself in the process, well, you are absolutely not alone. We are going to decode exactly what causes this and, more importantly, how to fix it, using some incredibly unique tools.
Okay, let's be real for a second and start with a highly relatable question. Have you ever obsessed over a slow text? Or maybe, you've analyzed a simple period at the end of a sentence for 3 hours, desperately looking for hidden meanings. If you're nodding your head right now, you've probably experienced what we call the love brain. It's this intense, all-consuming state of relationship anxiety, where your entire world literally shrinks down to just the person you're dating.
Look at these 10 anxieties. They perfectly capture that extreme lack of security and the massive self-doubt that totally defines the love brain. I mean, they range from a desperate need for absolute 100% loyalty to this constant nagging feeling that you might be abandoned at any given moment. The love brain demands to be the absolute most important person in a partner's life. It obsesses over response times and feels this deep sense of injustice if efforts aren't perfectly matched. You'll constantly hear these internal questions spinning, like, what did that expression mean? Or will they find someone better? And it all culminates in the most dangerous question of all. Does my life even have meaning without them? This is basically the ultimate checklist of a relationship built on fear rather than freedom.
But here's the real kicker. The crucial point is that these surface-level obsessing behaviors, they are actually deeply rooted in a massive fear of abandonment and a super fragile sense of self-worth. So when someone with love brain asks, what does his expression mean? They aren't just mildly curious. The psychological reality is that they are in a state of absolute hypervigilance. They're basically acting as a private detective, desperately trying to find proof of love or not love, because their low self-esteem is telling them they aren't inherently worthy of it. They're living on thin ice, completely unable to just relax.
To get us out of this psychological trap, our explainer today will bridge that modern relationship psychology right over to ancient esoteric tools. Here's our roadmap. We're going to cover the dilemma and psychology of the love brain, redefine tarot as a psychological tool, find your personal birth card, and then wrap things up with some grounding astrological wisdom. All right, jumping right into sections 1 and 2, the love brain dilemma and the psychology behind the anxiety. You see, the behaviors of a love brain are often just coping mechanisms for lacking an independent value system. Let's break this down. Message bombing and constant calling, guys, that's not passion, that is severe separation anxiety. And what about giving up your personal friends and hobbies just to be endlessly available for your partner? The root of that is hardcore people-pleasing fueled by low self-esteem. It's secretly believing your own life isn't as valuable as theirs. Sifting through their social media likes, that reveals a constant comparison to imagined rivals. And pressuring for marriage too early is rarely about romance, honestly. It's a desperate attempt to use a heavy commitment to lock down the relationship and silence your own inner panic.
Moving right along to section 3, tarot, beyond fortune-telling.
Okay, so there is this massive misconception that tarot is just about predicting good or bad luck or doing some parlor trick. It's actually a deeply psychological guide to personal happiness. Its origins connect straight to the oral traditions of Jewish Kabbalah mystical philosophy. If you are only using tarot to ask, will my ex text me back, which is a classic love brain question, by the way, you are entirely wasting its potential. It's meant to be a lifelong guide, almost like a personal mentor, helping you understand the core structures of life so you can navigate your own path with true confidence and internal security. If we look back, this tool has a seriously rich historical foundation, proving these cards were designed to map out human archetypes and spiritual journeys. From ancient mystical oral traditions, tarot popped up in 14th century Italy as a game called tarocchi, and it already used those familiar suits of wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. But look at what happened in the Middle Ages. It was heavily oppressed by the Roman Church. Why? Well, the bishops feared it placed the power of divine understanding and personal guidance directly into the hands of ordinary people. It empowered individuals to look within for answers rather than relying on an external authority. And honestly, that is exactly the kind of self-empowerment someone suffering from relationship anxiety desperately needs. Take the traditional Rider-Waite deck, for example. Designed by Arthur Edward Waite, it's pretty much the standard for teaching today, and it gives us the Fool. This card perfectly illustrates the human archetype of taking a leap of faith into the complete unknown. It represents the spirit of adventure, just holding a blank slate.
When you're trapped in the love brain, you are absolutely terrified of the unknown. The Fool is there to remind you that starting over or stepping out on your own independently is not a disaster. It's a massive adventure.
And the Fool is really just the start of the whole shebang. The entire tarot system is composed of 78 cards. You've got 22 major arcana cards. These deal with the main, undeniable core themes of human life. Things like power, sacrifice, balance, and rebirth. Then there are 56 minor arcana cards that deal with life's little details and daily interactions, broken down through the 4 elements. Understanding these cards really helps you zoom out and realize that your romantic relationship is just one tiny piece of a massive, incredibly rich human experience.
And the cool part is, different decks offer completely different visual vibes for our own psychological self-reflection. On one side, you have the Thoth deck, designed by Aleister Crowley, which shows the fiery, intense energy of the Knight of Wands. On the other side, the Osho Zen deck focuses entirely on internal states, like this beautiful card representing creativity. By meditating on these different visual representations, you can actually start to unpack your own subconscious feelings and finally shift your focus away from your partner and back to your own internal landscape.
All right, section 4, finding your birth card.
Grab a pen or pull up the Notes app on your phone, because calculating this gives you a personal anchor in the tarot system to help navigate your life's path. Don't worry, the math is super easy. First, write down your birth year, your birth month, and your birthday in a vertical column. Second, add those 3 numbers together to get a total sum. Third, take that sum and add its individual digits together. Finally, if your resulting number is larger than 22, because remember there are only 22 major arcana cards, simply subtract 22 to find your specific card number.
Let's look at a concrete example just to make sure we've got it. Let's say someone was born on December 12th, 2014. You add 2014 plus 12 plus 12. That gets us 2038. Then you add the individual digits, 2 plus 0 plus 3 plus 8. That results in the number 13. In the major arcana, 13 is the death card. Now, do not panic. In tarot, this absolutely does not mean literal death. It symbolizes a profound need for constant rebirth, closing old chapters, and letting go. For someone stuck with a love brain, pulling this as a birth card is a super powerful reminder that their core strength actually lies in their ability to let go of toxic attachments and reinvent themselves. Finally, section 5, astrological wisdom for love. So how do we actually apply this? We can literally adopt the mindsets of the 4 astrological elements to help the anxious love brain finally find balance. If you're lost in anxiety, you need to channel the air element, or wind, to gain the analytical capability to step back and see things logically rather than purely emotionally. You need to channel the earth element for practicality, ensuring you are actually getting realistic returns on the love and effort you're investing. You need the water element to learn the true power of emotional self-healing, so you aren't relying on a partner to fix your wounds. And crucially, you need the fire element, that absolute decisiveness to just pack up and leave when you realize a situation is dead wrong for you. So, the absolute biggest takeaway here, synthesizing all these esoteric tools and psychological insights, is vital. True security in love cannot be obtained entirely from the outside. Its source is within you. To actually cure the love brain, you have to establish your own value. You need to cultivate your own interests, forge your own friendships, and achieve your own goals completely independent of your romantic relationship. Because when you do that, all those desperate questions and that hypervigilance, they simply lose their power over you. We'll wrap up today's explainer with this beautiful quote. Love is the meeting of 2 whole people, not 2 halves trying to be whole. You deserve a relationship where you feel entirely secure and can breathe freely. But for sure, that starts with you. So I'm going to leave you with this to chew on. Have you built yourself into a whole person yet, or are you still waiting for someone else to complete your deck? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.
点赞关注，我们6月上海见。